Ray Borg 13-5 versus debuting Nathan Maness. How about you drop me some live odds, Nicky?
Yes, sir. So, all right. So you got Maness right here at a plus 195 best case scenario, all the way down to it looks like a plus 179, and then to come back at minus 219 best case scenario for Borg, right around the minus 225 range.
Nice. Mr. Safdie, you mind popping this one off, sir?
You know, I've said it once and I'll say it a million times. Ray Borg has the best manager in the game. Ali Abdelaziz coming through again here. He goes from fighting Merab Dvalishvili, who he has very few path of victories over.
Yeah.
The Georgian wrecking machine, the takedown master, brick wall, to taking on the debuting Nathan Maness. That's big, man. And also he pulls out of the Merab Dvalishvili fight with personal reasons. Not an injury. Not only was a botched weight cut. He's not really feeling it right now. So this is a guy that should not be fighting at 135 pounds. I think everybody universally would agree Ray Borg would be an exceptional flyweight. Unfortunately, he cannot make flyweight. He can make 127. He can make 128. He can make 129. He's just a little too big to make flyweight. At 135, he's just undersized. And when he fights power wrestlers, he's going to be in trouble. Merab Dvalishvili is the most power of the power wrestlers. But even for that, Ricky Simon is a power wrestler. He's going to have to get choosing spots. Now, Nathan Maness, this is a good matchup for him because even though he's come from a wrestling base, he's just not nearly as physically strong enough. His striking, it's adequate. It's okay. I don't see anything particularly special out of it. He was the TKO 135-pound champ up in Montreal, Quebec. So I'm very familiar with him. I've been cage side for a few of his fights. It's not that he's not a good fighter. It's that he's a generalist. He does everything okay. And with Ray Borg, if Ray Borg has a path to victory over you, and it's only his grappling edge, if he has that grappling edge over you, he'll just go to it again and again and again. And I do think that he's going to have this advantage over Maness. So he's had more time to train for this fight because he pulled out of his last one with personal issues. Hopefully that he's cleared that. Obviously, if you follow the story of Ray Borg, it's at times a sad and tragic one. Injuries aside, he's had a child that's had some health issues. You never really know where his head's at. But this is the type of fight that he should be able to shine. And on a DraftKings side of things, and we'll definitely talk to Brady about it, when Ray Borg is on, he can score a tremendous amount of points. He has his takedown city at 5 points a pop, but also just ground transitions. This is a guy that maybe if he doesn't hold you down, he tries to take it back. He goes to side control. He comes back to half guard. Maybe he tries to mount you really quick. You explode. You get back up to your feet. He's right back on a double leg. He takes you right back down to the base of the fence, pulls you back down. Because he's continuously working, when he's at his best, he can do a little bit of damage here. I feel like Ali's going to have him set up for a more winnable fight here. He is going to be prepared. He does have a good stylistic clash over Nathan Maness, making his UFC debut. I got to give my Borg a shot. He has let me down in the past, I'll fully admit, but I do think he's got the goods to come away with the victory here and potentially score good on the DFS side of things as well.
Very nice. Mr. Clint, what is your opinion, sir?
And my opinion is Cody's got to leave some shit for me to say.
So, I
mean, I got to go back to the point here of that Dvalishvili fight. Like, who got him to agree to that in the first place? Like, we all knew that wasn't happening. There's no way Borg is taking on Merab. That was just the worst case scenario for him.
Merab did to Ricky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So absolutely nailed it, Cody. He's coming back here. He's got an easy matchup. He's not even fighting some middle-of-the-road guy. He's fighting UFC debutant, and Maness looks good on the feet. I like what I see, but he overextends. He's fast. He's got good hands, but he overextends on his punches, and if Ray Borg can get in deep on your legs when you overextend on a punch like that, you're going down. And the worst thing about Ray Borg is that if you can get back up, he kind of lets you. Half his game is just mat returning you. He breaks people because you just can't do shit against him. And I think he's got that wrestling advantage here. On top of that, being in the small cage, there's no option to get away from Ray Borg. And I guess the one thing that Cody didn't touch on about Ray Borg is his hands. In his last fight against Ricky Simon, he actually went to his boxing. And it's something we've never really seen from Ray Borg before, and it was on point. He actually has some very underrated striking that we've just never really had the opportunity to see. And what I've seen from Maness is that he is really there to be countered. I think Ray Borg is going to have more success in the striking than we're giving him credit for in this spot. I think Maness has some defensive inefficiencies, and he's going to have the opportunity to land some bombs. If he can mix in the striking and the grappling on this spot, it's a bad step-in spot here for Maness, in my opinion. I think Ray Borg has to go down to 125 at some point. This is the best fight he can get right now at 135. I expect him to get it done.
Yeah. One thing I want to throw on really quick there as well. It's pretty crazy when you're Nathan Maness. He's 11-1, right? His one loss, Taylor Lapilus, that's the only UFC veteran he's ever fought. Lapilus obviously fought UFC back in the day. That's the only time he's fought a UFC veteran is the one loss on his record, and it's 2 fights ago. When you look at Ray Borg's a 12-time UFC veteran, and he's a former UFC title challenger who fought Demetrius Johnson deep into the 5th round before getting the sweetest submission of all time, right? So then if I broke that down to somebody at the bar, I'm having a beer with him, and I tell him that exact same thing, the natural assumption, you'd be like, okay, young kid, Maness, is new kid on the block making his debut against the old rusty former title challenger on his way out. It's like, no, Borg, 26 years old. He's 3 years younger than Nate Maness.
Exactly.
And he's already got all the experience. That seems like a crazy UFC debut for somebody. But that's why I go back to Ali's got this one, baby. We just lost 2 in a row. I ain't going to not 2 in a row. We would have lost to Dvalishvili. But we just coming off a loss to Ricky Simon. Time to get back in the win column. This is it. I think he's got a lot of good matchups, but crazy that the UFC would offer Maness this fight. And I'll tell you something. As somebody who's 20, I think he's almost 29 years old now. He's fought 12 fights for basically no money on the regional scene. He'd fight anybody. They could have offered him anybody. Would have taken it. This is his shot. This is what fighters do. But that is one hell of a debut when you look at it, right?
Yeah. I mean, from the tape that I saw, I mean, he has heavy hands. He appears to be very athletic. That's about it. You know what I mean? He's got an 11-1 record, but at 29 years of age, finally getting to the big show, and you're fighting Ray Borg, who looked better in his last 3 fights than he ever really has. It's a tough go. Like you said, Ali's got it right. You know what I mean? He's setting him up for the W. I mean, Borg lost a split decision to Ricky Simon 2 months ago, where his boxing, like you said, Clint, looked phenomenal. So I like Borg here. He's a younger guy. We got Maness stepping up to UFC caliber at age 29. Why hasn't he seen the big show before age 29? You know what I mean? So that being said, Borg it.
Borg it, as in lock it, Brady. What's your thoughts on it, bro?
Yeah, I like Borg quite a bit in this fight. Some things I want to point out is Maness is going to have about a 9-inch reach advantage here and a 6-inch height advantage. But I think that if Borg is able to get him down, which I do think he will, and is able to work his wrestling, his grappling, I think Borg's not just going to look like a minus 200 favorite. I think he's going to look even more than that, like a minus 300 favorite, if he's able to implement that game. And like I said, I think he does. So I think Borg is a nice parlay piece with maybe somebody above the card, up in the card later. But I think Borg gets it done. Obviously, he's the well more tested fighter. And if he's able to work his game plan of taking it down, I think he'll make it look easy. And as for the striking, his striking has improved a ton. He's showed some good power as well in the fight with Simone. And I think he can stand with Maness as well. The reach kind of scares me, but I think he's going to be able to get him down on the ground and maybe even find a submission here. I mean, Maness, I haven't seen much of his ground game, so maybe Borg's able to submit him there. But as for DraftKings, 9,000, there is somebody I like a little bit more in the 9K range, which we'll get to later in the card, but I think is a fantastic play because, like Cody said, when he is on, and I can see him racking up multiple takedowns, multiple advances, multiple ground strikes if Fight Metric counts them. And he can easily get 100 piece if he's able to implement that game. So Borg at 9,000, I think, is a fantastic option. And I'm going to have a pretty decent amount of them, too.
Remember, if Fight Metric counts them, that's a big if.
Remember, it ain't the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. And Ray Borg is a smaller guy. We got Maness at 5'11". He's going to be the better striker, grappler, wrestler, and BJJ fighter Saturday night. That's all I know.
Hey, Niggy, give us that one more time.
Which one? The elbow?
The same you just said, bro. No, not the elbow.
It's the size of the fight and the dog.
All right, I just wanted to make sure in case everybody didn't hear him correct. That's right, boys. So I'm right there with you. I think Borg's going to come in. His boxing, his striking didn't look that bad last time out. Ricky Simone was just a bigger, better man, implemented his game upon him. I think Borg's going to be able to come in and attack, chain grapple, body locks to single legs to double legs. He's going to find a way on the ground. If Maness gets up, Borg's good at taking his back, either throwing a body triangle on, throwing his hooks in. I just see Maness always being on the defense. To me, here the pick is Borg. So before we dig into DraftKings, one thing we haven't been doing, maybe it's because of the excitement of all the big hitters on, is we haven't kind of been thinking about how we're going to make specific money, props, stuff like that. So this fight right here, Borg, Maness, if we're going to make money on this fight, let's say we have Borg. How are we making money on this, boys? Are we just taking Borg straight up? Let's look at these props. What you thinking, Nikki?
Let me see what these props are looking at, because this guy could
over 1.5 minus 500. That's the way to go.
Woo! That's it, huh?
No,
that's it. Lock it in, huh, Clint?
Oh, you
I'll get into that bad boy.
Oh God!
What you
Over
thinking,
1.5
Cody?
minus 500. That's unreal.
Yeah, I'm personally, as far as props goes, I do see this fight going the distance. So fight going the distance is minus 230, which is not a great price tag. But we're all agreeing that we got Borg. I've got Borg, and I got fight going the distance. So if I got going the distance and I got Borg winning, I might as well take Borg to win a decision, which is minus 110. Pretty much even money. That's what I'm looking at here. One thing with Ray Borg is that even though he does have that submission game, he's a grinder. All of his fights. Gene Herrera, decision. Louis Smolka, decision. Who's here? Formiga, decision. Gabriel Silva, decision. Rogerio Bontorin, decision. You're not finishing nobody. But the key thing here, especially because we're talking about playing on DraftKings, is you go back to that Gene Herrera fight, 5 takedowns. The Smolka fight, 4 takedowns. The Case Kenny fight, which he lost, 7 takedowns. And most recently, that Rogerio Bontorin fight, 10 takedowns. He's just on you the entire time like glue. But that doesn't lend itself to a ton of finishes necessarily. I agree with Clint, or somebody, I'm sorry, who made the point on the show, but they said, I think it was my boy Brady here. He said he's a minus 200 favorite, but he could end up looking like a much bigger favorite. That's exactly what happened against Bontorin. In the Bontorin fight, people were like, oh, I don't know. He might be a little undersized. Bontorin's a good grappler, but he just absolutely dominated this guy. But at no point really came all that close to finishing him. So my prop on this one would be Borg by decision minus 110.